He said what Chael Sonnen said. LeBron James, I don't know what had happened, but I do know what had happened. Kevin Garnett says LeBron James is on that Balco, that new juice.
I want to know for the people, man, who are watching, you know, what would this mean for LeBron James's legacy if this is true? He's on this, you know, Balco, this new juice. I want to know, man.
Kwame Brown just cracked open a conversation the NBA world has been dodging for years. It's one of those subjects that's so sensitive, most reporters won't even touch it, not even with gloves on. And when you actually listen to how Kwame breaks it down, it suddenly makes sense why major networks like ESPN move in silence every time it comes up. This isn't about wild rumors or throwing reckless ideas around. It's about spotting a pattern that keeps showing up right in front of everyone's face, a pattern people choose to ignore. It's about the timing, the way certain former players suddenly speak up out of nowhere, then go quiet just as fast.
Media strikes again. Slap Jeff Teague down. That nigga described everything to the T. Y'all remember in Miami? That Miami LeBron was on steroid. Remember, he was a little bit slow. He was big. They started testing for HGH. He said it all. They started testing for HGH. Then, boy, when LeBron came back, boy, that was the best LeBron.
Watch how conversations suddenly shift lanes. Watch how everything fades the second LeBron James' name enters the chat. That part alone makes people pause. Think about it for a moment. When voices from totally different corners of the sports world start saying similar things, it stops feeling random. It starts looking connected, like pieces lining up in a bigger picture. So what's really behind the silence? Is the topic too uncomfortable, or do some people fear what could happen if the wrong questions get asked? That hesitation speaks louder than any headline ever could. And to be clear, Kwame Brown never accused LeBron of anything.
Oh yeah, they would have shut it down.
That was the first thing I said. I said, ooh. I saw that. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, who the hell done gave Jeff Teague a bad batch of that guy chronic? This damn sure gonna end his career.
Oh yeah.
He was just on the money train talking about Kobe, and then this got the nerve to flip it and start talking about LeBron. I said, boy,
I wonder what.
This must be high.
He simply repeated what's already been said in public and asked a question others refused to ask. Why does LeBron seem to exist inside a media bubble where even harmless conversations feel off limits? Why do talks get shut down before they even get going? That's the real mystery. More people are catching on now, and it's getting harder for the media to keep looking away. Every superstar in history gets dissected, debated, and analyzed from every angle. But the moment LeBron James comes up, everything freezes. It's like there's an invisible wall around him, one nobody dares to climb. Reporters go quiet, podcasts skip past it, and even fans tiptoe like there's an unspoken rule in play. And the spark that reignited all of this? That came straight from Jeff Teague. On his podcast, Teague dropped a few comments about LeBron that instantly lit up social media.
He said what Chael Sonnen said. LeBron James, I don't know what had happened, but I do know what had happened. LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He went down to Miami to get in shape. He was down there for about 2 weeks. So came back, turned into Superman again.
Within minutes, Jeff Teague started talking about LeBron's body changes over the years. He mentioned the transformations, the timing of certain breaks, and how LeBron always seemed to come back even stronger. This wasn't random small talk. It was the kind of conversation that makes people stop, rewind, and start connecting dots in their own heads. And then came the switch. What happened next spoke louder than anything he said before. Within hours, Teague was already walking it back fast. Suddenly, it was just a joke. Suddenly, he didn't mean it like that. One moment, the energy was confident and loose. The next, it flipped into careful, nervous cleanup. That shift happened quick, too quick. The tone went from open honesty to damage control in record time. And people noticed. Kwame Brown definitely noticed. He clocked how fast Teague's vibe changed and asked what everyone else was thinking.
That was almost as bad as Darvin Ham when he said "whip it out."
Yeah, that was
crazy. My bad.
Crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But the way KG said it and the way Paul Pierce reacted to it, it's kind of like, we knew about this. Like, he didn't say, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" Like, there was no reaction to it.
If it was really just a joke, why rush to undo it? Why did it feel less like clarification and more like scrambling to put the lid back on? Because regular jokes don't usually trigger full retreat mode. That's when Kwame locked in on what he called the Miami transformation. After LeBron left Cleveland and spent those years under the South Beach lights, something clearly shifted. A few seasons later, he came back looking different. Bigger, leaner, more explosive, somehow even harder to stop. LeBron was already a genetic monster. Nobody ever denied that. But after Miami, it looked like he leveled up completely. His speed looked sharper, his stamina looked endless, his body control looked cleaner, and even with heavy minutes and deep playoff runs, he just didn't slow down. Kwame was careful with his words. He made it clear he wasn't accusing anyone of anything.
Understood what LeBron did. Like, other basketball players will hear what LeBron does and go, well, yeah, but that doesn't matter, right? It's like a baseball player and you're hitting a stick out of the way. It doesn't matter. It's like, no. If you knew what these performance enhancers did, then you would know why it does matter.
What do you think he's
There's
doing?
only one. We have the same drug guy, if you will. I know exactly what he's doing. But there's only one golfer.
Please tell.
There's only one golfer. I'm not going to. But there's only one golfer that follows the big three. The big three is EPO, growth hormone, testosterone. That's the Lance Armstrong diet. There's one golfer, but it's Tiger Woods. Like, yes, it does matter. People will say it all the time. It doesn't matter. John Daly won it. It's like, it matters. Trust me that it matters. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It matters. And if other basketballers understood
EPO
what it
do?
did, EPO increases your red blood cells, which gives you endurance so you can play all game long. You can shoot in the fourth
More
quarter
red blood
just like
cells,
you
more
shot in the
oxygen
fourth
in your
minute.
red blood cells. Okay, got you.
It's the king of performance enhancer.
But he also said he couldn't ignore the timing, the results, and especially the silence that followed. Every change followed a pattern. Every question slammed into a wall, and that quiet media avoidance made it feel less like coincidence and more like a topic nobody wanted to touch. LeBron built his game on attacking the rim non-stop, night after night, taking hits, crashing to the floor, getting right back up like nothing happened. That kind of punishment usually wears players down by the early 30s. Bodies break, speed fades, recovery slows. But with LeBron, it just never seemed to happen. He kept moving, kept dominating, like wear and tear didn't apply. Kwame never said that proved anything, but he pointed out something the basketball world has quietly noticed for years. It wasn't just fans on couches asking questions. It was players, trainers, people who actually lived the NBA grind, people who know what real recovery looks like. These were professionals who understood physical limits, athletes who knew how rare long-term durability really is. And to them, what LeBron showed year after year didn't look normal compared to anything they'd seen before. These weren't random hot take artists chasing clicks. These were insiders who could spot when something looked different. And that's when the conversation circles back again. The same one that never fully goes away, the HGH testing timeline. Kwame brought it up. Jeff Teague hinted around it, and fans have been stitching those dots together on social media for years now. Then the NBA officially announced HGH testing across the league. Not long after that, LeBron's physical look started to shift. He was still dominant, still elite, still an all-time great, but the appearance changed. Leaner, lighter, less bulky, less like a comic book superhero, and more streamlined. Nobody is calling that proof of anything, let's be clear on that, but it's the kind of detail that makes people raise an eyebrow, especially when major networks refuse to even acknowledge it. That's exactly what Kwame kept stressing. The real issue isn't guilt, isn't accusations, it's the silence surrounding the question itself. ESPN can run endless segments debating LeBron versus Jordan, rings, teammates, eras, rules. They'll break down every angle imaginable. But there's one question they won't even whisper, the one sitting quietly in the background. What if, hypothetically, if LeBron James had ever used performance enhancers, how would that change the way people view his career, his legacy, his place in history? That single what if stays untouched, buried under highlight reels, debates, and non-stop praise. No one dares to explore it, not on national TV, not in major publications, not anywhere mainstream. And that silence, louder than any defense or denial, that's what Kwame says tells the real story. Kwame Brown explained why this topic feels completely off limits. LeBron James isn't just a basketball player. He's a global business. His name moves money across TV networks, sneaker brands, agencies, sponsors, streaming platforms, podcasts. A lot of people benefit from keeping that image spotless. He's not just an athlete, he's an empire. And when one reputation carries that much financial weight, nobody inside the system wants to risk shaking it. That's why these conversations don't fade after debate, they disappear before they even begin. It's not shut down with arguments, it's silenced by design. And that's why Jeff Teague's sudden backtrack hit different. The way his tone flipped after those comments didn't feel random. It felt reactive, like someone somewhere wasn't happy with what got said. Kwame called it out immediately. He said it looked like a behind-the-scenes phone call might have happened. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe just bad timing, but the shift was impossible to miss. One moment, Jeff Teague was speaking freely, sounded relaxed, comfortable. The next moment, he was laughing nervously, calling it all a joke, creating distance from his own words like he needed space fast. Viewers felt that switch instantly, that weird tension, that awkward pause when something unsaid is hanging in the air. Kwame didn't stop there. He pointed to another piece of the puzzle, LeBron's famous quote about spending millions every year on his body. It's a powerful line, one that gets replayed in interviews and documentaries to highlight discipline and dedication. And no doubt, taking care of your body matters, but when you look closer, the details stay blurry. There's never a clear breakdown, no list, just broad terms like treatment, recovery, supplements, and science. Rashad McCants touched on this too. He asked a question that sticks with people. If the formula is clean, legal, and repeatable, why hasn't any other superstar been able to copy it? Where's the blueprint, the public roadmap for that kind of longevity? Players share shooting mechanics, footwork, training drills. But this, it stays locked away. That question hits harder when you look at the other legends. Kobe Bryant carried teams for years and eventually his body gave out. Dwayne Wade's knees couldn't take the grind anymore. Tim Duncan slowed with age. Shaq's dominance faded once wear and tear caught up. That's the normal arc of greatness. Time usually wins, but LeBron's story looks different. 2 decades, coast to coast, heavy minutes, constant contact, and still bouncing back like nothing sticks. Even now, pushing 40, he's sprinting the floor, throwing down dunks, logging serious minutes like he's still in his prime. And the wildest part? He openly talks about playing until 45, like it's just another milestone to knock down. That defiance of time, that ability to keep going while everyone else slowed down, that's what keeps people talking. That's what keeps this whole conversation quietly alive, even if the mainstream won't say it out loud. And to be clear, silence alone doesn't prove wrongdoing, but it absolutely opens the door for fair questions. Kwame was never trying to tear down LeBron's talent or erase his legacy. Nobody questions his basketball IQ, his leadership, or the way he's dominated the league for over 2 decades. What Kwame focused on was the body, the durability, the recovery, the longevity that seems to stretch past what's considered normal, even for all-time great athletes. Year after year, game after game, LeBron's physical curve just doesn't follow the usual wear and tear path most stars face. And that's where the double standard starts to show. When fans or analysts raise similar questions about other athletes, it's called analysis. But when the same curiosity is aimed at LeBron, it suddenly gets labeled as hate. That's the uncomfortable truth sitting at the center of this entire discussion. There's no confirmed evidence, but there's also no room to even explore the question without backlash. Kwame admitted that openly. Chael Sonnen can speak freely, Kevin Garnett can joke, Jeff Teague can slip up. But without official test results or hard proof, everything stays stuck in that uncertain middle ground. And maybe that's exactly where the system prefers it. Quiet doubts, unanswered questions, and a superstar too valuable to ever face real scrutiny. That gray zone between rumor and fact, That's where the media feels safest. Gray means no lawsuits, no direct accusations, no headlines that could shake billion-dollar partnerships or sponsorship deals. Everyone gets to act like they don't see the smoke, as long as nobody goes searching for the fire. Kwame even hinted at patterns that seem to circle back towards LeBron's broader orbit. Names, connections, past performance labs, or investigations popping up nearby. Not as proof, not as accusations, but as proximity. And in this conversation, proximity alone is enough to make people uncomfortable. Every time those connections start bubbling up, the story fades. Before anyone can follow the trail, the smoke thins out and the conversation vanishes. Nothing sticks, nothing gets chased, and nobody in the media seems interested in digging any deeper. This was never about proving guilt. It's about recognizing context. And in stories like this, context often speaks louder than hard evidence ever could. That double standard is what drives fans crazy. It hangs over the entire sports world like a cloud. In baseball, legends get picked apart by investigations until their legacies barely survive. Cyclists have medals stripped on global stages. Olympic heroes get questioned the second their performances start looking superhuman. NFL players get suspended before all the facts are even clear. But in basketball, the biggest star of the modern era seems to exist inside a protective bubble, a space so guarded that even asking questions feels off limits. The rules bend, the tone changes, and anyone who forgets that balance gets checked real fast. By the time Kwame Brown wrapped up his point, it was clear what he was doing. He wasn't dragging LeBron through the mud. He wasn't accusing him of anything specific. He was holding a mirror up to the system itself. Calling out the silence, the hesitation, the way conversations stalled the second LeBron's name comes up. It's not about guilt, it's about how fragile that space around him feels. Fans have been whispering the same thing for years. Something about this story doesn't fully line up, and pretending everything makes perfect sense only deepens the mystery. Maybe LeBron really is exactly what the nickname says, the chosen one. A once-in-a-generation athlete with unreal genetics, elite discipline, world-class science, and unlimited resources. That version of the story deserves respect. But if that's truly the case, why not open the doors? Why not show the blueprint for staying dominant that long? Why keep everything vague? General talk about recovery, treatments, technology, but never real transparency. And that's what keeps people wondering. Because if everything is clean, fair, and above board, openness should strengthen the legacy, not threaten it. A career this historic should be celebrated in full daylight, not protected by shadows. And until that silence finally breaks, the question just hangs there, floating right above the applause. They say fame comes with pressure, but in today's sports world, pressure doesn't just shape players, it controls the entire ecosystem behind them. Behind the highlights, behind the press conferences, there's a hidden economy built on image, loyalty, and silence. Some stars only play the game on the court, others play it off the court too, making sure their brand stays squeaky clean no matter what. Because modern athletes aren't just chasing championships anymore. They're guarding billion-dollar empires. Every tweet, every photo, every friendship, all monitored, managed, treated like part of a corporate playbook. And the second someone goes off script, you can feel the panic spread. Media outlets suddenly pivot, topics change, insiders lose access, and the story disappears before it even gets air. It's not always about scandal or guilt. A lot of times it's about control. The people at the top learned how to shape what fans see, and even more important, what fans never see. When a story doesn't fit the approved narrative, it doesn't get debated, it gets buried. PR teams call it protecting the brand, but really, it's about protecting power. Because when money, reputation, and legacy are tied together, honesty suddenly feels dangerous. You see it across every sport. A rising player says too much on a podcast, suddenly interviews dry up. A journalist asks the wrong question, their media pass doesn't get renewed. Even teammates go quiet when certain names come up. Nobody wants to be the one who says the thing you're not supposed to say. What makes it wild is how obvious it's become. Fans notice the patterns, the same stories recycled, the same praise repeated word for word, and the same silence whenever something uncomfortable pops up. It's like the media learned to speak in code. Celebrate what's safe, ignore what's messy. And maybe that's the price of modern greatness. Maybe you don't reach the top without the system wrapping around you. Maybe every dynasty has its secrets, and every icon has a team working overtime to keep the mirror polished. But the more people start noticing the quiet parts, the interviews that vanish, the stories that fade, the clips that never make it to air, the harder it gets to pretend everything is just business as usual. Because at some point, silence starts sounding louder than truth. And when fans stop trusting the story they're being sold, that's when real cracks start to show. Not in the athlete's performance, but in the empire built around them. And until something changes, this conversation isn't going anywhere. Every offhand joke, every awkward backpedal, every sudden shift in tone, it all keeps feeding the curiosity that refuses to die. Kwame Brown didn't start this fire. He didn't invent anything. He just pointed at the smoke and asked why everyone keeps acting like it isn't there. The question was never about proving guilt or locking in facts. It was about why people get so uneasy the second the topic comes up. And that's the part that stands out the most. This isn't about whether LeBron James did or didn't do something. It's about why NBA media seems terrified to even explore the what if. Because when a rumor or idea is truly ridiculous, usually it fades fast. People laugh, move on, and it disappears. But this one doesn't. It lingers. It resurfaces year after year, season after season, even when nobody brings it up directly. Something about it refuses to fade, and that's what keeps eyes locked on it. LeBron's career has always lived at the extremes. To millions, he's a once-in-a-century phenomenon, untouchable, a living legend. To the player who shattered expectations, carried franchises, changed the game. But to others, that same aura of perfection feels too protected, too carefully managed, like there's an invisible rule book, what can be said and what can't. That tension, the pull between admiration and doubt, that's what keeps this story alive. Because greatness, real greatness, should never mean immunity. The biggest icons in sports history all faced questions, debates, and uncomfortable moments. That's part of legacy.
And avoiding those conversations only makes them louder. So when one superstar appears to exist outside that same level of scrutiny, people naturally start asking why. That's not hate. That's human curiosity. And until it's answered with honesty instead of silence, that curiosity isn't going anywhere. When respected voices like Charles Barkley even hint at something as bold as Hall of Fame doubt, that's when you know this conversation runs deeper than dislike. This isn't about tearing anyone down, it's about legacy. It's about how greatness is remembered once the lights dim and the hype cools. Because when the noise fades, what's left is accountability, not animosity. And that's the uncomfortable corner of this discussion most fans, analysts, and networks don't want to step into. Legacy isn't just points, rings, or trophies. It's context, who you faced, how you led, how you responded when things went sideways, and how real the story behind the success actually is. For nearly 2 decades, the media machine wrapped LeBron in an invisible shield, protecting him from the kind of scrutiny every other legend eventually faced. But lately, you can feel that shield starting to crack. The tone is shifted. Platforms that once labeled him untouchable now hesitate, unsure how to navigate changing public perception. And that uncertainty is exactly why this topic won't fade. Fans aren't buying the polished, safe, repeat headlines anymore. They want transparency. They want the same fearless curiosity every other superstar gets when tough questions start floating. Because if LeBron James truly is what many believe, a once-in-a-century physical marvel, a player who rewrote the limits of the game, then openness should strengthen that legacy, not threaten it. But when silence drags on and questions keep getting dodged, it leaves space for people to wonder what's really being protected. This isn't just a sports debate, it's a media stress test. Can fans handle honesty without outrage? Can networks report without fear of losing access? Can icons be questioned without it being labeled as hate? That's where the real story lives, right in that space between admiration and accountability.